Yes, yes, yes. Welcome to the Gentleman's Guide to Gaming and another live character creation stream for the wonderful game of Curseborne, the Curseborne RPG. I did say, as of last Monday's video, our video on the Primal Damnation, that this video would be another character creation one, and I received a lot of fantastic responses. Thank you so much to everybody who got in touch with me to request specific characters get made. A surprising number of people still wanted more and more Primal created, despite the fact in our very first character creation video we did create a Primal. Clearly they are a very popular lineage, and we even got a request for another Raptor, and I thought about it, but I have generally considered that you've seen a Raptor get created already. I think if all I do is create different Raptors for Curseborne, people might get a little bored with that. So this time I went with the majority. And most of the people who tuned in last time, or tuned in to last week's video where I asked for you to comment on the kind of character you want to see, asked for an Outcast. They wanted to see an Outcast get created, specifically with the revised manuscript. So the Curseborne manuscript, which was released to Kickstarter backers, has had various tweaks, amendments, additions, and some little bits, only tiny bits, taken out. Basically, quality checking the whole thing, responding to feedback. The Outcasts are one of the areas where changes have been made, and so I think there was a lot of interest in what those changes were, and you'll get to see them, or some of them at least, in this character creation stream. So first things first, we want to build the audience for this stream so that we can get going, get some collaboration involved. It's always good when people start posting their opinions, their thoughts. So what we need is for you to give the thumbs up. If you leave a like, it pops up in more people's subscription feeds. I know that is a pain. I hate it when people ask me to like and subscribe. I'll like and subscribe my own damn time. But I need to ask you to like, because when you do, it pops up on more phones, tablets, computers, whatever, wherever people are subscribed to this YouTube channel. It's the way the algorithm works. That and chat. So if you are watching this live and you have the capacity to add a comment, a thought, a reflection in the chat, please do so. Please post a hi, how you doing, good afternoon, whatever it is your thoughts are presently in the chat. The more interaction there is, and there you go, send me hearts, send me hearts, send me your hearts. So we're not creating an air this time, so I don't need your heart, but we'll do that at some point, I'm sure, because the airs are likewise a very popular family. Hi there another time. Thank you very much for tuning in live, and thank you very much to anyone else who's tuning in live right now. So let us pray. Let us first of all go to the previous video. And hi, Peter. Wants to know when backers will get the revised manuscript. You know what? I imagine we're going to start distributing that in bits and pieces, chunks, to the existing backers of Curseborne. One of the main reasons we're probably not going to do it in full, I would imagine, is because it will no doubt generate a massive flood of feedback. And what we need to be able to do as game designers is at some point say, right, that's it. That is the rules. That's the setting. Every time you expose something pre-release to an audience, everyone comes in with opinions. Those opinions are often very useful, but sometimes they can deconstruct work that has already been completed, which means we have to keep going back to the drawing board. So I don't know when yet, but I can't imagine it's very soon because that manuscript's been approved. Or rather, it should be soon. It should be soon. So let's have a look at some of the suggestions for the character we'll create today. So we got this from Galileo Persons. A keeper of the broken vine, corporate mogul, CEO, the kudzu of the boardroom. While the other corporate leaders might be sharks in the water, the mogul is the Sargasso Sea that is slowly choking those waters as its vines twist up into their gills and bind their fins. That's a really interesting suggestion, Galileo Person. Thank you very much for that. And we also got some more primal requests, which I'll skip over for this occasion just because they were very good, but we did create a primal last time. A keeper of the broken vine, seems a very popular family, who has realised she and her family have been given the boots from the gardens they once tended. She and her family have grown a new one in their city and tend to those within their block as well, almost to the point of being neo-spiritual leaders. Others would say drug dealers, with what people say is in that garden, yet no one seems to find anything illegal within it. She and her family have become possessive of their community as much as they can be, and nothing on earth or anywhere else will pull out their roots again. That was from Jacob Mormon. So that is an interesting one too. We have one here that I don't think the lineage is mentioned, from Gene Hetzel. I've always dug an idea of a professional fighter, in this case maybe a pro wrestler, who's uber hairy, his move the bear hug, his element the earth, he does not move if he does not want to, a stand your ground type. This is feeling very primal to me. Let's see, what else did we get here? Lots of thoughts about were creatures and elementals, which isn't too much of a surprise. That video last week was about the primal damnation. We've got another request here for an Outcast, the Keeper of the Broken Vine. That is a popular family, apparently. So, alright then. Let's have a look. I see Lucas Alves says the Outcast is my favourite in Curseborne, especially the Chimere. Peter, I'll be GMing my first Curseborne on Sunday, so if you could just release it before that, I'll be happy. On a serious note, though, looking forward to it. Have fun with it. The Kickstarter manuscript should give you everything you need to run the game. There will just be some adjustments afterwards, some rules tweaks and so on. So we're going to go for Keeper of the Broken Vine. That is going to start us off. So let's get going, shall we? We're going to create an Outcast. We're going to create a Keeper of the Broken Vine. And again, apologise for any machine gun typing you hear. That is the way I type. I like having a mechanical keyboard and putting the microphone right next to it. So, player name, of course, is going to be me. Oh, look, it came up automatically. And the character type this time, we're going to go for the CEO Mogul. Do we want to go for the CEO Mogul? Or do we want to go for the drug dealer community leader? What are you thinking, live viewers? People here... people in the live audience, what are you favouring? Someone who is operating on a local level or someone who is more CEO? Corbin is going for the CEO or Mogul. So, okay, we'll go for the CEO Mogul type, which will probably work as well for the role path. So I will fill that in right now. Remember, the role path, while there are suggestions in the book, roles can be utterly created. Offhand, as it were. Okay, then. So, let's get into this, shall we? Let's first of all talk about what the Outcasts are mechanically. I'll be doing a separate Outcast Damnation video, but it's good to cover these things. So, the Outcast systems. Outcasts are your outsiders, your demons, your fae, your fallen angels, your people from another place. They do not belong here. Genies have also been pulled into it. Basically, they can be constructs. Outcasts are things that should not be. And they have the ability, first and foremost, to slip off the mask. So drop their human facade and suddenly appear monstrous. So by all appearances, they are human. However, if they bleed a curse die, they slip the mask. And for the rest of the scene, the player should describe their semi-liminal appearance, because that is what it is. It isn't their fully liminal appearance. This is their semi-liminal appearance. So it isn't their most mind-bending, world-altering state. That happens when they suffer their damnation. They gain one automatic hit applied to influence actions against anyone who sees the liminal outcast. All of the outcast's unarmed attacks, while liminal, gain the Warn tag, basically it becomes part of their body, and 2 additional tags from the following: Concealable, Elemental, Attunement, Flaming, Light Weapon, Painful, Piercing, Poisoned, Reach, Returning, Shield, Silent, Stunning, Transcendent, or Versatile. You choose as player which 2 you're getting. You gain a special form of movement, such as flight for wings, extraordinary leaps, wall or ceiling ceiling clinging for insectoid appendages, and you become immune to the critical hit trick in your semi-liminal state. Nearly keep saying seminal, as your body defies regular biological functions and vulnerabilities. You can end the effect of slipping off the mask early as a reflexive action on their turn, without bleeding any additional cursed dice. This is not a wild form, as the Primal have. And when in any liminality, the Outcast is treated as having slipped off their mask without the need to bleed one curse die. Visually, Outcasts in an outside, so a liminal space, can still appear in their semi-liminal state, their fully liminal state, or as humans as they prefer. So other things that Outcasts get. If there's a liminality within the area in which the scene is taking place, an Outcast senses its presence and may make a difficulty 0 esoterica simple action. So esoterica plus intellect, for example. Difficulty 0 to determine where exactly its threshold is, and potentially how to cross it. However, this difficulty 0 action comes with a minor complication. That is the whole point of difficulty 0 actions. They're all about complications, not about the chance of success, which, if not bought off, alerts something on the other side of the threshold as to your presence. For one hit, if you want, you can spend it to purchase this trick. Liminal keyhole, you can work out how to cross the liminality. Now, you can enter the outside by either bleeding 2 curse dice irrespective of the usual rituals, or you can figure out how to, as I say, cross over by gaining that additional hit. Returning to the world from the liminality is a reflexive action. Basically, they are portal hoppers, world hoppers, and so on. I've got a question here from Corbin. What kind of appearance would a Keeper of the Broken Vine usually take? I would imagine, as the name implies, they would probably have an Edenic, poison ivy-like appearance. They are going to look quite floral, not necessarily covered in flowers, but their skin may appear like bark. Their eyes may open to become petals, the opening petals of a flower. You may have bugs crawling in and out of your body, or you may even look more insectoid than human, because these Keepers of the Broken Vine have a more connected to nature element to them. I've got a Keeper of the Broken Vine in one of the games I'm running right now, and they've got a serpent-like Garden of Eden kind of appearance going on. They are a serpent that, from the right angle, looks like an incredibly seductive woman who is holding an armful of cherry red apples, and very seductive, and then you get around to her front and she all of a sudden looks like a rearing cobra. It's part of the idea of an Outcast is they are shifting. They do not conform to human expectations of perception because they don't belong in this world. They are outsiders. And to that end, there is a Stephen King book called The Outsider, which has a very good outcast or outsider that slipped through into our world in it, with its eyes out on like proboscis, among other strange... I think they're described as being out on straws and blinking red and things like that. Anyway, moving on. The Outcasts also have what is called an eternal punishment. You see, Outcasts have been cast out. Whenever they take an action at the near-death injury level in an outside, they find themselves reformed in their human guise and deposited back on the mundane earth in a place they recognise. They are fragile at the maimed injury level and suffering the exhausted status effect, but whole. They reappear in this way in the scene following their being taken out or near death because they're forever imprisoned. They aren't permitted to die. Characters who experience this resurrection lose all positive and negative bonds, reminding them that they are inhuman and punished for being part of the mortal world. Outcasts who take an action at the near-death injury level in the mortal world suffer the taken-out status effect in the same way as normal humans, except they only die if a sentient being not from the outside willfully ends their life. typically by inflicting the mortally wounded status effect. So disease, poison, self-inflicted wounds, age do not kill an outcast. They're not allowed to end their own life. It has to be ended by a mortal, and not at your compulsion, as I recall. Basically, you cannot, as an outcast, you are punished to live forever. You can't just end it, and if it is going to be ended, it is going to be at the most fragile, by the most fragile possible being, a human. So anyway, we gain 3 path skills as before for being an outcast, and we get to choose between artistry, athletics, esoterica, and leadership. As we've got a CEO, I'm suggesting artistry, esoterica, and leadership. Once again, I will put 1 in each. And hopefully this is all showing up on the screen for you. Yes, it is. Good. And we will need to decide whether this is a major path or minor path. Now, for Keepers of the Broken Vine, our path skills, we get to choose between close combat, medicine, science, and survival. I think we could be a CEO of a pharma company, maybe, so as in pharmaceutical rather than farmers, although I guess a farming union might work too. Science functions. I think we're going to go for a largely cerebral character here, cerebral and social, so we're going to go for medicine, science, and survival, is my thinking. You don't see science come up very often, but I do love it when there is an equation in the game that requires it. And finally, we have our role path, and we get to choose these skills there. So let's choose something that CEOs and moguls probably have. I know what we're thinking. They lack all empathy, they're sociopaths, but quite the contrary. Quite often, these people are very good at reading others. They just don't care. So empathy works for a CEO. I think larceny works for a CEO. You've got to know how to do that financial fraud. I'm going to choose leadership again, because leadership is appropriate there. Okay. So now what we need to do is decide which of these 2 paths, Outcast or Keeper of the Broken Vine, is our major path. Here are the differences. So if we choose Outcast, we're going to get access to this inheritance. An outcast perpetually tries to fit in, constantly aware of the impact they tend to have on the people around them. Being ingratiating as a survival mechanism, people are naturally drawn to outcasts until they learn more about them. The outcast with this inheritance can slip off the mask once per session without the need to bleed or die. An outcast with this inheritance can automatically see the fully liminal state of another outcast by bleeding 1 cursed die. They don't need to know someone is an outcast in advance of using this ability. So this becomes something of a radar. It's a very good way of reading people, but it's also a way of gaining the benefits of slipping the mask without the need to bleed through cursed dice and therefore trigger your damnation. So that is option 1. We take Outcast as our major path. Now you might recall last time we chose Primal as our major path rather than Raptor. Let's see whether we do the same thing for here. Keeper of the Broken Vine. Their major path inheritance. You have a -1 difficulty in attempts to identify, cure, and craft poisons and diseases. Further, once a session, you can have all the ingredients necessary to spend a simple action to create a herbal medicine. This medicine has +3 enhancement that stacks when added to an item with the poisoned tag. The concoction spoils at the end of the session. So that is, of course, quite situational. The need to create poisons, medicines, and diseases. But there's something quite fun and quite nasty about that, I feel. The ability to weaponize a disease, the ability to weaponize a poison. So what do we want? Do we want our character to be the archetypal outcast who can basically drop the mask whenever they want to, or slip it whenever they want to, identify these liminal spaces a little easier? Or do we want to lean more on the nature side, the poison ivy side? What are people in the comments thinking? Because major path will also impact things like our major path attributes, how many skill dots we have to spend, but I'm never too fussed about that because through experience you can bump these things up. Peter is going Outcast. Corbin is saying Poison Ivy side. Jason Schmidt is saying Keeper for Major Path. So right now we've got Keeper of the Broken Vine winning 2 votes against 1. Are there any more votes to advance on that? So we've got Peter versus Corbin and Jason. It is a handicap match, 1v2. Is anyone going to come in and rush to Peter's side before all hope is lost? Are we going to see anyone weigh in? And there's Link the Vampire saying, I think both could work for the CEO, but creating diseases is more for Keeper. That is true. Oh, and now we've got Poison Ivy Pharmaceutical coming in for David Brothers as a 4v1. I'm sorry, Peter. I think you are, as they say in the profession, shit out of luck. Right now, everyone is voting Keeper of the Broken Vine. So let's put our Major Path inheritance. I know you may say we are skipping a step, but I like to get all of this down. Yeah, and Peter has bowed out. Graceful Peter, your sacrifice will not be forgotten. So, what does this mean? What does it mean? Well, it basically will affect the number of skill points we're going to have to spend on our Keeper of the Broken Vine skills as opposed to our Outcast skills and roll skills. It will also affect the number of attribute points we get to spend on our Keeper of the Broken Vine skills as opposed to etc, etc. So it isn't terribly difficult to work it out, quite frankly, if it is a major path that we're looking at. So major paths, in this case, we're going to be getting, I believe, and correct me if I am wrong, viewers, but after we've assigned 1 point to all attributes, which we haven't done yet, the major path, it will give us 10 attribute dots to spread across the attributes that our path informs us, and 6 skill dots to assign to our major path skills. The minor paths will get 4 attribute dots and 3 skill dots. So we're looking at 10 attribute, 6 skill. And for the Keepers of the Broken Vine, our attribute spread is mental 4, physical 3, social 3. So let's get 1, 1, 1. 4, 3, 3. My favourite football formation. Okay. So I think if we are a CEO, first I'm going for balance. I'm boring like that. And I think often being a CEO is more about cunning than intellect. But in fact, more than cunning, I'd say it's about resolve. It's the not swaying. So then we've got our 3-3 here. I'm going to go for stamina. This person is robust. We're looking at a defensive character here. And manipulation, clearly. Not composed, however. Resolve, unshakable. Composed, often flying off the handle. So there's our 4-3-3 attribute spread. Now we've got our 6 skills and 6 skill dots. And we chose the skills of medicine, science, and survival here, which is really quite interesting for a CEO. Clearly, being a Keeper of the Broken Vine is more important to them than being the head of a major company. And in answer to Corbin's question, when do you find yourself using Resolve often in gameplay? Typically to resist effects, but also I will combine Resolve with a skill if I want to express to the story guide, this is something I've really got to push through to achieve. I always enjoy the negotiation of using a certain attribute or using a certain skill. A story guide will probably say something like, okay, you're rummaging through the library. Roll Esoterica plus Intellect. And I might say, because this library is really badly sorted, can I use Esoterica plus Resolve because it's really getting on my character's nerves? And I think that it isn't just so that I can min-max and win the game. Sometimes I will try and sabotage myself as well. But I think you can basically justify most anything. James Ellsbury can see the CEO taking his fellows out on hunting trips for survival. That's a really interesting idea. I wasn't thinking that. So we've already spent 2 points. We've already spent 3 points, sorry. 3, 4, 5. And yeah, I'm going to go for survival. That is a really interesting idea. I was going to think science, but somehow the CEO is a mass survivalist. It's just bizarre. Okay. And now let's look at our minor paths, because we also have the minor path here of Outcast in this case. And that is going to be mental... Well, it's going to be physical 1, social 3, first of all. So let's bump might up. And social 3. Okay, we're not going to lose our temper every single time. But we are going to bump it up like that. Okay, so physical 1, social 3, and now we have a grand total of only 3 skill dots to spread between our CEO skills. I'm going to put another one in leadership. Oh, not CEO, Outcast skills. Sorry, Outcast skills. Leadership, artistry, because I like a character having a secondary interest in something. So let's not forget, we have already actually put 1, 2. There we go. I have overspent. So we should be looking here at spending 3 skill dots. So yeah, that will be 1, the one I've already put in, 2, and now 3. So we've got another one in leadership. Okay. So finally, we will start assigning our role path attributes, which are more or less free to assign. You can, of course, use any of the templates in the book. I like to just create my role path attribute and skill dot spread as I see fit. I don't see any harm in that. So once again, it's going to be 4 attribute dots, 3 skill dots. Actually... You know what? I've overspent. I overspent twice. Because my error here, and you didn't call it out, chat. You could have allowed me to play an overpowered character here. I'd already put 1 in artistry, 1 in esoterica, and 1 in leadership. That was my mistake. And I've already done larceny, leadership, and empathy here for my CEO role. So all my skill dots are already done. I just need 4 for my attributes now. So I think we will bump resolve up. If I can click on the right dots. So that's 1, 2. Cunning goes up a little more. We'll put... I like composure being a little on the edge. And we did choose leadership twice. Yes, Peter. 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, we are a very manipulative CEO. It sounds more like I'm a backroom administrator, more, you know, power behind the throne than a CEO. So let's put in presence instead. And so we're not completely done with attribute and skill dots, I believe, or rather skill dots, because we still have our personal interest ones. So let's cover that now. I mentioned this the last time that I was creating a character for this game, that you follow, or I follow, the order that I find natural to me. We obviously present an order in the book that we have tested and found most people use for character creation. I always just work down the sheet as a general rule, or if there's a question I want to answer, like, let's say, what's my inheritance, I'll just paste it into the sheet there and then. I just find it easier that way. Don't feel like there is a way you have to do this. So we have 4 skill dots to assign now wherever we should wish. Let's bump leadership up like we intended. So that's 1, 2, what else? 3... and 4. There we go. Oh, persuasion. You know what? Persuasion is actually a really good idea. I am, after all, a CEO. So I'm relying more on my attributes than my skills right now, but I would say persuasion is something that I need to dump points into at some point in the near future. Okay then, so what are we looking at next? We could look at our edges, or we could look at our spells, we could look at our torments. We know we're going to be entanglement 1 on this case. We start with 1 curse die. Let's look at edges, I think. So, as always in Curseborne, you gain 5 edge dots. And I always like to start with the supernatural edges. I find them some of the most fun. For instance, as an Outcast, we've got Archon's Blessing. It's a 3-dot edge. This is a lot. Choose an area of action, influence, or investigation. When you gain curse dice while taking an action in that area, you gain an additional die. Additionally, you may hold 1 die above your normal tolerance. Archon's Blessing is huge, and I'm going for it. I'm going for it because while it is 3 whole dots, and I'm choosing influence here for perhaps obvious reasons, this is how my character has stayed in power as a CEO with that edge. I'm also thinking I need to get some resources, so that is what I'm going to put the rest in. Not an incredibly diverse range. But yeah, I'm a blessed CEO. I have managed to cling on to power with my supernatural ability rather than my talent, and I've earned a fair amount of money from it. I think Devil's Luck Storm Moon is a really good one as well. I think that would work as well. Let's just have a quick look at it. Devil's Own Luck. Archons are supernatural attuned to the flows of probability. So are you. You might write off as quick reflexes or a sixth sense. Once per scene, you may bleed a curse die to re-roll all dice not showing a hit on a failed action. That is a very good one. That's the kind of thing I will probably save up for. For the time being, I'm sticking with those 5 dots. So, what shall we look at next? Let's look at the spells that we're going to start with, shall we? So, as an Outcast, we have access to the manifestation practices, and I always like to go for the secret spell. In this case, I nearly say League of the Hidden Crossroads. Keeper of the Broken Vine has access to the spell Photosynthesis. Not Photosynthesis, but we may need to zoom in on that a little. Okay, so what does this spell do? Well, it's a spell I have a particular fondness for. Let me get the... I will just get... There we go. So to use photosynthesis, you need to hold 2 curse dice. You may extend your senses into any plant within long range for the rest of the scene. You can see and hear through the plant but cannot speak. You may use a reflexive action to change which plant you are sensing through on your turn. This allows you to bypass walls and barriers that would normally prevent you from doing this kind of thing. Now, what I really like about photosynthesis is that as your entanglement goes up and you buy enhancements, or advances I should say, you can then start controlling the plant life. You can even add this benefit to allies, and eventually you can even speak and issue commands through the plants. So if we start working on social spells as well, mind control kind of things, this could be quite good fun. So I'm thinking Archonic Voice. So, well, let's put our photosynthesis in there first. So this is going to be hold 2 curse dice. I always write it like this. Hold 2. And there we go. And yes, indeed. Quite right, Storm Moon. The tree forcing people into a deal. Let's see if they go for that. I'm going to go for Archonic Voice here. Oh, I've already done it. I think I must have done it for another character. Was that on my Raptor as well? If so, we don't want to use it again, do we? Just because it's a good spell. No, it wasn't. Must have been a different character I created. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So, Archonic Voice is a bleed 1. Activate this while speaking. Choose a single target out to long range to inflict the awed status effect on with you as the target. So, this is obviously quite some way off, but I very much like the idea that eventually I'm going to be able to mind control people via the plants. Corbin asks, do you often roleplay the plants talking to the Keeper? As a story guide, yeah, I probably do. I like the idea of outcasts, and primal for that matter, being attuned to things that other people can't speak with. Same as dead and phantasms. I will put more of them around in a game if there are dead characters in play as well. And finally, in terms of my starting spells, there is a very nice Outcast spell called Executive Function. So, Executive Function is a hold 2 curse dice spell. Activate the spell as a simple action that cannot be part of a mixed action. For the rest of the scene, you may take mixed actions with the higher of the character's dice pools instead of the lower. Now, that doesn't sound terribly flashy, but it is actually damn good. This can make you probably think of this only from a combat perspective, but whether you're investigating or influencing people, this is what I like using Executive Function for. Influencing multiple people at the same time with different actions, but being so damn commanding about it that you can just suddenly carry the room. So yeah, that is a very good thing for a CEO to have, in my view. Alright, so Executive Function is chosen. So next we're going to go down to our Damnation, just to record it. So the Outcast's Damnation, for anyone who is unfamiliar, it will differ depending on which is your major path, just as you will have discovered that the Primal Damnation alters depending on which is your major path, whether it's Primal, whether it's Raptor, whether it's 8 Hands, or the like. In this case, we chose Keeper of the Broken Vine as our major path, so hold that thought. When an Outcast holds 0 curse dice, everyone in the area with an unobstructed view gets a momentary glimpse into their fully liminal space. This is an incredibly distressing and abstract thing to witness. It's less physical, more witnessing the outside through which the Outcast is connected. Any mortal who witnesses this, if they had a bond of 3 or higher, it's reduced by 1. If they had a bond of 2 or lower, it reduces to 0. Other Outcasts, crewmates, and outsiders are immune. The memory fragments and withers, but has a lingering impact, afflicting a character with nightmares, paranoia, and obsessive thinking, with examples provided in the book. Basically, this is how Outcasts can actually create some of the adversaries we have in this book. People who become maniacs, obsessed with tracking down conspiracy theorists, basically, who think they've seen aliens. How do you resolve this? Well, the Outcast must root herself in humanity once more, by performing a deed and paying penance for her alien exiled nature. The nature of this deed differs depending on your major path, though in all cases it should result in an attitude shift for witnesses or forging of a bond. Doesn't have to be a positive bond, mind you. While the penitent deed is being carried out, the Outcast can conceal their fully liminal state, but if they do anything else, as long as they remain at 0 curse dice, it seeps out again. Upon resolution, gain 1 curse die, the Outcast can hide their true nature. If it inconveniences the crew, they earn 1 momentum as well. So, for Keepers of the Broken Vine, everyone gains the Confused status effect, and they need to act to protect or to provide sanctuary in territory they control to a person, people, or animal under threat. That is how they resolve it. Okay. We will gain contacts now with, I believe it is, let me just double check. I always like to make sure I'm getting this right. So, yeah, I think we're on contacts, aren't we? Characters start with 5 dots worth of contacts. So in this case, what I'm thinking is, as we're the CEO, we probably need someone else high up in the company, don't we? So we're going to make this, if not someone who's in our crew, this is going to be somebody who is in some way, also accursed, I think. Our CFO is going to be Henrietta and Palasinski, why not? Who is an heir and CFO. She holds the purse strings. The Vice President as well, says Link the Vampire. So maybe the VP too? Yeah, hell, my character's only friends are on the board of directors at this company. That is telling a fairly sad story about this Keeper of the Broken Vine and how distant they are from nature at this point. So what name shall we give this one? We'll call this one, this is going to be Iqbal Madrid, VP of the company. This one is not going to be an accursed. And contacts work in that they can give you enhancements in certain areas, which we'll get into. For instance, Henrietta is moneyed. Iqbal is going to have... I think Iqbal is going to be... We'll go for my mentor. And the last one... these enhancements, basically, if I need to do something to get money or with money that helps me, as long as I'm invoking Henrietta Palasinski at that time, whether it's name-dropping her, using her for her bank account, I will gain an enhancement of 2 because my contact rating with her is 2. However, if I use her again very soon after, I will start suffering complications in my relationships with her. That rating can degrade. Likewise, Iqbal Madrid might give me advice on something because he's been around in this business a lot longer than I have. Stormmoon is suggesting a rival contact, and I think that's a good idea. Let's swing back to the Accursed now. And I'm thinking another Keeper of the Broken Vine. We're going to go for a mashup of followers here, live viewers. We've got Peter Ellsbury. Thank you very much, Peter and James Ellsbury, for this. Peter Ellsbury, or Fsbury, Ellsbury, yep, is going to be rival company mouthpiece and keeper. Oh, Kepper, even. He's a Kipper. And this person is going to be an informant. It's a low-level contact. We can build that up. So we can't do bonds yet, for the simple reason that we don't have a party involved. But we can choose our torments. Now, torments, as before, you get one that is personal, and you get one that is tied to the kind of supernatural creature you are. In this case, we've got outcasts. We've got 3 possible torments here for the outcasts. We've got higher thoughts. A character with this torment finds the needs and concerns of mundane humanity wearisome, choosing to use her friends and colleagues as pawns or assets in the grander game against the Archons. We're talking Doc Manhattan here. When she succumbs, she becomes self-absorbed, ignores social obligations, generally treats her friends and family like dirt, especially if she needs to be working with her family right now. So when you do that, you gain 1 curse die or 1 momentum. There is also the second one, like flies to shit. The outcast shouldn't be here, but they're far from alone in that regard. A character with this torment is like honey to the taste buds of the unnatural, summoning monsters closer to do harm. When the character gives into the torment, a shiver tier adversary such as a cultist, hostworm, hunting beast, imp, monster trap, venator, or wretched isopod appears in the area, though they're not obliged to make their presence known and certainly aren't required to act friendly. And then we've got Show of Force. The blood of Archon screams to be used. A character with this torment knows she is no mere mortal and craves to show the world her power. When she gives into this torment, she must use the strongest effects available to her to solve her problems, even if they're not the right tool for the job. And especially if using them would cause collateral damage or be total overkill. What do we think? Show of Force is probably the most appropriate one here for a CEO, given that we said that this character's got very little self-control. Yeah, let's go for it. Let's go for Show of Force. This is going to be... We're just going to type it in for the time being. As for my personal torments, I like to create personal torments. There's a whole load of them in the book, but I like to create them based on the character we're playing here. And I think my personal torment is essentially tight-fisted and unsharing. Or selfish, that would be a better word, wouldn't it? As in, whenever a character asks me for something, my automatic inclination is just to say no and not help them when it comes down to money. I'm a CEO, you know, there's a reason I stayed rich. It isn't just because of Daddy's emerald mine. So I've got, I'm going for a tight-fisted and selfish personal torment. It basically benefits me to withhold assistance. I see we've got some questions in the chat right now. Let's have a quick look at them. So Peter says, does Curseborne still have the sanctity of merits? Yes. So yeah, if you lose edges, you can regain them. That's simple. Does that include contacts? No. That does not include contacts. But your contact rating will... Sorry, I said it degraded earlier. Effectively, you can always replenish it, so you're never going to just scrub them from your character sheet. But at the same time, those SPCs that are in orbit around you, if you do something really bad to piss them off, if you kill them or kill their loved ones, why would they come back and continue helping you? So, yeah, there needs to be a penalty for that, I would suggest. So we did not choose a character here who needs to have any particular gear on them. And... we just need a short-term aspiration. So short-term aspiration is going to be hire a new head of HR. The last one disappeared in one of my survival trips, and yeah, haven't been able to find them since. It's been quite a pain. My next short-term aspiration is arrange a new hunting trip. And my long-term aspiration is going to be buy out my rival. There you go. Corbin had a good suggestion there. Make a deal as a short-term aspiration. That is absolutely fine as a short-term aspiration. You don't need short-term aspirations to be as, I guess, character-driven as the ones I've put on. You can put something nice, achievable. It gives you something to aim for. And most importantly, it gives the story guide something to put in the game. That's one of the purposes of aspirations that I think is sometimes overlooked. When you declare them, and I always get players to declare theirs at the beginning of the session, the story guide can then think, so you want to do this, then I'm going to put this in. I actually said to Corbin recently on the Onyx Path Discord, in a game of Curseborne I ran not last weekend, but the weekend before, one of the players had an aspiration of kick in a door with my 7-inch heels, or words to that effect. So I needed to make sure there was a locked door that she could kick open with dramatic effect. It's a nice, easy thing, but it's a fun way to play in my view. So let's think. Character name. Are we going to come up with a character name now? Yeah, I think our raptor was a guy, I want to say. And I know that the names you folks watching live are going to come up with are going to be absolutely ridiculous. And we're not going for text field 0 as the name either. What name should we go for here? I'm feeling like this one is going to be an Eleanor. An Eleanor Irene. All right, Irene. I'm sold on Irene. Irene is not a common name these days, I would suggest, but I am an outcast. You know, I adopted the name that came to me fastest. So my name is Irene, and what is my surname? What is my surname? We want something... I know. Irene Servant. Irene Servant. Servant is a genuine surname. Look it up. And we're not going for Musk. I wouldn't ever play this character then. No, we're going for Irene Servant. The irony being I serve no one but myself. So there we go. That is another character created in under an hour, and that is the Outcasts. That is our Keeper of the Broken Vine, created for... yeah, her middle name is Self. Created for Curseborne. I will upload this character sheet to the Onyx Path Discord, just as I did last time with our primal character. And yeah, next time, you know, post in the comments, not in the chat, post in the comments the next type of character you want to see. We've created a primal, we've created an outcast. What do we want to see coming up next? let me know in the comments. And yeah, if you haven't picked up a copy of Curseborne yet, you can pre-order it on BackerKit. Please do. What's more, Onyx PathCon is coming up this weekend. Check out theonyxpath.com. We've got an entire weekend full of gaming, panels, news, lots of announcements, loads of stuff going on, and lots of discussion about what's coming up for Curseborne as well. So if you haven't already pre-ordered a copy of Curseborne, please go over to backerkit.com and type in Curseborne. You'll be able to do it nice and easily. And if you have, or if you haven't, check us out at Onyx PathCon. This coming weekend will be on twitch.tv/theonyxpath for a great deal of what we're doing, but it will be all over the place. So check out theonyxpath.com to get the various websites where we're doing broadcasts, okay? Anyway, I'm going to call it there. And thank you so much for all the kind words in the chat. Dennis and Peter and Link, it's always appreciated. Thank you so much for tuning in live. And and Peter, you by all means send your players to me. This is how to learn the game. This is the modern way of learning how to play a game. All right. Thanks all. Thanks Storm Moon. And I will see you next time for another Guide to the Families next Monday. But which one? We shall see. Until then, bye-bye.